David, these tunnels were originally built to protect Springfield from the kind of floodwater we experienced last night, but now danger has been presented to the homeless community of Springfield as the tunnels continue to do their job.
Reports of some people in a tunnel came in.
Amid downed power lines and storm-caused damages, this scene, 2 people stranded by the flooding tunnels in Jordan Valley, proved to be the most dangerous Tuesday morning.
We were able to actually hear the people in the tunnel.
Battalion Chief Julie Williams says crews were already nearby when the call came in.
And they sent the boat in on a rope and were able to make contact with them and bring them out.
Why the city was developed here was because of all the fresh water.
John Sellers, executive director of the History Museum on the Square, says harnessing floods was sort of what those tunnels were originally designed to do when they were constructed back in the 20s.
There were some disastrous floods right after the turn of the 20th century. So they came up with a plan of actually encapsulating a flowing body of water and encapsulating the creek and building over the top of it. It starts over about Sherman Street all the way through and comes out over about Main Street.
In tonight's Storm Team coverage, we're tracking the aftermath of flash flooding in the Ozarks and what may still yet to come. Our Bria Douglas is back in the newsroom from Barry County, but we begin with the latest in Branson, where our Grant Sloan is keeping an eye on the lake levels. Grant, good evening.
Well, Daniel, Branson was among those communities hit hard by severe flash flooding earlier this afternoon. It prompted several swiftwater rescues, encouraged evacuations, and of course increased the levels of our area lakes. For instance, Lake Taneycomo, just on the other side of the landing, I'm told, increased about 3 feet in just 1 hour earlier this afternoon. Now, this is what the immediate area kind of Branson and around Branson looked like earlier today. You can see water into businesses along Turkey Creek over in Hollister, and then water as well into the Lakeside RV Park in Branson, and that's just down from the landing. Now, Taneycomo is currently out of its banks. Something to keep in mind is that this is primarily due to the result of all of the rain that we've had today. What little bit of rain is coming out of Table Rock Dam is the result of a generator being down, so it's not due to the weather. So the question becomes, if and when the Corps has to make a weather-related release from Table Rock Dam, how large will that release be? I asked Branson Fire Chief Ted Martin if the release could be similar to that of 2015.
Anything is possible today or tonight or even tomorrow morning, but it truly comes down to the great work that the Corps does to do the measurements between the lake systems, the inflows, how much rain do we get, what can we store, and where is it going to be stored at. But when we're at the level that we're at, what they've shared with us, we think we should be ahead of it as a community, and let's move some people.
Now, if the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does decide to increase the flow currently coming out of Table Rock Dam, that's expected to happen between now and potentially 4 a.m. Sunday morning or tomorrow morning. And that's why the Branson emergency personnel in the county have been encouraging folks that if they're going to evacuate, go ahead and do that earlier today so those evacuations aren't occurring at night. Reporting live in Branson, Grant Sloan, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Grant Sloan tonight, thank you very much. Continuing our Storm Team coverage now, Bria Douglas visited Barry County where they experienced major flooding. She joins us now with more. Hi, Bria.
Hi, Daniel. Deputy Justin Rourke is a husband and father of 6 who has worked for the Barry County Sheriff's Department since 2010. As you can imagine, today is one of the busiest days of his career, and Rourke not only spent it juggling his professional life, but his personal life as well.
It's amazing what one thing can do to bring an entire city to its knees.
Barry County Deputy Justin Rourke is patrolling around Cassville, a city that he barely recognizes.
This is the Cassville City Park.
The city's underwater.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not done yet. It's still raining.
We're on our way to Deputy Rourke's home, where he's heard that it has flooded. Along the way, we encounter streets that we can't ride through because of high water.
This road's all closed off. All the way through there, it's a lake.
Jeez.
That's the main city street.
We pull up to Deputy Rourke's house, where he sees for the first time since leaving for work in the morning the toll the rain has taken on it. He stands speechless and emotional. He's reliving the nightmare.
When you look around, you can't even see my driveway or the yard or nothing. It sucks. It's like the third time. It's hard to rebuild.
What does it mean for your family?
More struggles.
He looks at his yard that has turned into a swimming pool and a basketball hoop that is being swallowed by water.
Hard on the kids, you know, trying to do all their stuff, go to school.
The city of West Plains continues to recover from the flood damage it suffered yesterday. That's where we join our Colin Lingo tonight. He's outside a church turned into a shelter where earlier today lawmakers and city leaders met to discuss the future of the city. Colin?
And Jennifer, yesterday we got to see the damages left over from Saturday's floods. That included uprooted houses, demolished cars, belongings scattered all across West Plains here. But today we saw that city band together, and that is a sight that is far more powerful than any amount of floodwater. Every donated sock, bottle of shampoo, or slightly used shoe tells a story of compassion shown by a member of the West Plains community.
I'm just a volunteer.
Kara Kernut, member at First Baptist Church, has been watching that compassion roll in all afternoon.
So we have people who have come in who have completely lost their homes. They don't have anything. We've had kids come in holding onto their life jackets still.
Her church home, now a sanctuary operated by the Red Cross. It's housing anywhere from 80 to 150 people every night since the flood.
After seeing upwards of 9 inches of rain resulting in historic amounts of floodwater, they're now seeing the support of the governor. Colin Lingo was in West Plains to hear what the governor had to say.
It's been 5 days since historic flooding washed through the city of West Plains, and today Governor Eric Greitens showed up to talk about his support for the community and what's next for West Plains, maybe on the federal level. For almost a week now, Mother Nature's been trying her best to knock down the city of West Plains, but they just won't quit standing up.
Hey guys, how are you?
Though it was a very special visit from Governor Eric Greitens Thursday, they got them to their feet the quickest.
We appreciate you coming down here. Of course.
West Plains Emergency Management Director Ken Edge was one of 9 local leaders that shared the table with Greitens.
I don't know how it happened, yes, but we did not lose one soul.
And he's one of 2 men who delivered damage assessments to the governor.
Our biggest obstacle right now is the roads.
The other being County Emergency Director Mike Coldire.
150 houses, individual houses affected. We have about 50 businesses.
And we've got probably around 250 homes affected within the county. We've had 9 folks displaced totally or damages totally destroyed on their residence.
Nearly 7 million tires. That's one of 2 projects creating an ecological disaster in the Ozarks. Take a look at the Damco Tire landfill. It's in Baxter County, Arkansas. It closed years ago, but the tires left behind created a mosquito concern and broke environmental regulations. We spoke with the project engineer fixing the problem and for the first time are able to show you what it looks like. Mounds of tires of every shape and size litter the road at the Damco Tire landfill near Mountain Home. For years, waste tires were recycled here.
So originally the district needed a place to dispose of tires and requested to have a monofill landfill.
Weston Lee with the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality is spearheading the cleanup as project engineer. Damco Inc., a private company, worked in conjunction with the Ozark Mountain Solid Waste District to bury 1,500 bales of tires. Each bale has 100 tires in it. Improvements being made one scoop at a time. It's been 5 years.
We closed it with the problems intact, or actually worse.
Since garbage was last dumped in the overfilled neighbor's landfill.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
The group picking up the tab is the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. The price tag, $13 million. That's down from the original estimate of $18 million. The ADEQ started properly closing the bankrupt landfill in May. Weston Lee is the project engineer.
Currently, the neighbor's project is about $25,000 under budget. As far as being on time, we're actually ahead of schedule by almost a week and a half.
You have to dig deep under this mound of trash to understand where the trouble originated. The landfill was overfilled, breaking a barrier at the very bottom that separates the soil from
water with heavy metals, any other trash that happened to be in the leachate.
If left uncontrolled, the leachate from neighbors' landfill could seep into the watershed and end up here at Norfolk Lake, which is a major water supply for people of Baxter County.
But a new document discovered by defense attorneys has brought to light allegations now of possible evidence suppression by the Highway Patrol and state prosecutors. The defense says it's a document that could have changed the outcome of the original trial and could now potentially set a man free.
It was Christmas Eve, and we've always had a tradition of gathering at my mom's house on Christmas Eve.
And it was after that gathering on December 24th, 2006, that Marcia Eiler says her brother Brad Jennings and his wife Lisa returned to their Buffalo home in Dallas County. Brad and Lisa Jennings were reportedly drinking and arguing that night while preparing for Christmas morning.
When we got the phone call, I didn't even wrap myself around the fact that she was gone.
According to court documents, at some point Brad Jennings went out to his workshop. When he returned to the couple's bedroom, he would find Lisa dead of a gunshot wound with a weapon lying under her body. Court documents say he cradled his wife's body, then called 911.
Had no idea until we went out to the house and we met the coroner in the driveway, and he said, "Sorry for your loss."
Authorities responded to the scene to take pictures and gather evidence, which included gunshot residue tests. Those tests showed residue on the right hand of the deceased, Lisa Jennings. The tests showed no gunshot residue on the hands of Brad Jennings. Lisa Jennings' death was ruled a suicide initially by 3 different agencies: the Dallas County Sheriff's Office, the county coroner, and the Dallas County prosecutor. It was only several weeks after that initial ruling that a member of Lisa Jennings' family went to the Highway Patrol asking for the case to be reopened and re-examined as perhaps something more sinister.
I want to keep doing something until I can.
For 10 years now, Paul Lear and his wife Flavie have stood behind the counter at Reed's Spring Pizza Company.
We share our lives together. We hardly go anywhere without the other.
And while this is definitely not Paul's first job,
before this, I had a print shop. I was a full-time teacher. I was a mayor in Reed Spring.
he says there's no other gig that could top this one.
I couldn't eat printed brochures, but I can eat pizza and salad.
But at 60 years old, he says his years of making dough are close to over.
We had thought about retiring for some time now.
And you see, Paul's not alone.
We are the largest demographic in the country.
As a baby boomer, he's actually a member of the most populated generation in America.
People who used to die at a young age are living a full life.
A big generation living longer and healthier lives, according to Cox Health geriatrician William Rosen.
You know, before World War II, we lived to about 57. When they started Medicare in the mid-60s, people lived till 65. And now we're living, depending on the state, between 78 and 79 years old.
So the question becomes, what happens when the biggest and longest living generation in America begins retiring in droves?
When an illness comes unexpectedly, it can become both a physical and financial burden.
A single catastrophic event can absolutely be devastating to anybody's finances.
But it's not just the sudden stroke or heart attack that are attacking the health and pockets of aging boomers.
People are coming into Medicare with more chronic conditions than prior generations.
According to the AARP's Beyond 50 publication, more than 70 million Americans ages 50 and older suffer from at least one chronic condition. That's 4 out of 5 people.
High blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes.
And 11 million of those live with 4 or more chronic illnesses.
So basically our healthcare system right now is paying for sick care.
Treatment can cost a lot of money.
What we can do to help people is dramatic, it's wonderful, and it's very, very expensive.
Almost 20 cents of every dollar right now is spent on healthcare.
Said goodbye.
At Seasons Hospice this week, the annual memorial service for those who've lost loved ones in the past year. Candlelight, singing, worship. All Things Program Director Lori Wagner hopes helps to provide more comfort to grieving families, especially during such a difficult time.
Our hope and goal is that emotional and spiritual and physical aspect of that individual is just, all in place and all addressed.
And while celebrations of life like this one are to remember and bring joy to the memory of those who've passed away, they also come after some very trying times and tough decisions.
We begin a new courageous conversation here at 9 tonight on something a lot of people don't want to talk about or think about: the cost of dying. What if you had a death in your family today? What would you do? Who would you turn to? Would you have the money? Well, these are questions we aim to help you answer over the next week here on Color 10 News. Tonight, we hear from a local funeral director with some advice on what to do first in the event of a death, and also more on what your rights are.
You know, ask them, do you have any questions at this time? Most people don't because they're in shock.
Clint Meese is a co-owner and funeral director at Gorman Scharf in Springfield. He's been in the funeral industry for nearly 30 years. He says funerals are among the largest expenditures people can make in their lifetime.
In the Ozarks, if you prices are a little more affordable than if you go outside of our area.
According to the Federal Trade Commission, most funerals run about $6,000, with some going as high as $10,000. Consumer Reports even suggest that people comparison shop 5 different funeral homes before they make a choice.
Families have buried their loved ones at Green Lawn Memorial Gardens in Springfield for more than 100 years. Since 1905, around 40,000 people. But before those people were laid to rest, their loved ones had to make some big decisions. Unfortunately, they are expensive decisions. According to the National Funeral Directors Association, in 2014, the average funeral with a viewing and burial cost $7,100. Compared to just 10 years earlier, that's a nearly 29% increase. The average funeral with viewing and cremation in 2014 cost $6,000. Prices in general vary from funeral home to funeral home, but did you know every funeral establishment must have a price list? It's the law.
The funeral homes have to give you a general price list, and anyone who wants to walk in can do so.
Hazelwood Cemetery is the final resting place for approximately 24,000 people. It's one of the oldest cemeteries in Springfield, dating back 150 years to an opening date just after the Civil War. Indeed, it is full of history.
For John Polk Campbell, he's not buried here, he's actually buried in Florida, but there's an epitaph, I think is what they call that, just a monument, you know, for his being a founder of the city.
Joe Payne has been director of operations at Hazelwood for more than 20 years. Hazelwood offers a regular adult grave site plot for $800. Infant sites go for $270. You can buy mausoleum space for $9,600. Payne says people should take time to consider where they want their final resting place to be, because Hazelwood is a city-owned cemetery. The plots sold here are real estate. That means there are no refunds.
So for the next month, Color 10 will be exploring that topic in our new We the People series. It will feature a number of subjects, but for now, our own political analyst, Dr. Brian Calfano, will explain what these segments are all about.
Americans have a lot in common.
But David, you wouldn't think so with today's political scene. Polls indicate both voters and politicians haven't been this divided since perhaps our Civil War.
So we want to know how we got here, how bad things really are, and what we the people can do to find common ground.
The answer won't be easy or fast. People hold to what they believe reality to be, and folks aren't usually keen to change their minds, even when presented with convincing arguments.
That's why we're not here to change your mind. Instead, we'll provide some points of view to consider about political issues facing our communities, state, and nation.
And David, along the way, we'll hear from local and national experts on topics ranging from political parties to media to religion and more. We hope you'll consider other sides of the issues presented and decide anew whether there's more to an issue than meets the eye.
Our goal is to start a conversation about our nation's differences, not to change how you think about politics, but rather give you perspective on the things that both divide and unite us.
By now, you've seen those political maps of the U.S. with states shaded in red and blue. Since 1984, the television networks have designated blue to mean Democratic states and red to stand for Republican states. In reality, though, the most dominant color on this map isn't one you see on election night. purple.
This county-level electoral map produced by the website Politico shows the solid reds and blues are in isolated pockets of the country. Sprinkled across the nation are shades of purple, representing counties whose vote percentage for the president was generally between 40 and 60%. One way to interpret this is that Americans don't conform to the characterization of a polarized people, but instead the people only appear polarized because they get just two real choices in any given election that have a shot of winning. This is also a chicken and egg question. Are the parties and candidates polarized to appeal to people, or do the people demand polarization? Dr. Melissa Michelson is an expert on political polarization and teaches political science at Menlo College in California.
Right? And so we've become kind of more tribal. We've got politicians encouraging people to really identify with one political party and really feel like it's us versus them.
Well, I started in radio when I was 16.
Mike Peters will be a familiar face to longtime Color 10 viewers. He was our station's main evening news anchor from 1979 to 1990, a time when America wasn't quite as polarized and people had a different view of what they saw and took away from the nightly news.
When I came to work here in '79, they still had their first generation of video cameras. And so that was a huge change in how things operated. How we cover news today is different because of the 24-hour news cycle. And I think the temperament of politicians is different today than it used to be. You can see in our current situation in Washington, D.C. with the advent of Facebook and Twitter, there's a tendency and the ability to bypass the news media and to go directly to your constituency to put forth your ideas in 140 characters.
I can't tell you how many times I've been told that Christians shouldn't have nothing to do with politics. And of course, that's ridiculous.
Alvin Morrow supposes it was back in 2008 when he first felt the need to get more involved.
Barack Obama was running for president during the campaign. I heard him quote Karl Marx, and I looked at my wife and I says, we're in trouble.
Today, Morrow is the founder and executive director of Christians Uniting for Political Action.
The type of laws and a type of society that brings the best effect, if you would, or best result is a Christian society.
Perhaps that same spirit moving Morrow today is the same that moved Billy Graham to publicly endorse presidential candidates in the 1960s.
With the Congress now reconvening and the election heating up.
Or maybe it's the spirit behind Jerry Falwell and the moral majority of the 1980s.
And I think he is on the side of the angels.
Actually, Jerry Falwell is the father of this current movement, if you would, with the moral majority. He basically was telling the church to, hey, let's get off the pews.
Locally, we have a place in the history books.
Back in those days, you had families split, whether they fought on the north or south, and their obligations and their ideas were basically split families.
Slavery had created a crater in our country since its revolution.
That's the most brutal part of our history, I think, in the United States, was the Civil War.
From 1861 to 1865, nearly 1 million armed men formed battle lines from Virginia to Missouri. 620,000 soldiers would lose their lives. The second major battle of the Civil War was fought just outside of Springfield here in Republic, Missouri at Wilson's Creek National Battlefield. Eventually, the North would win, upholding equal liberty for all Americans. But after the Civil War, racism ensued. Downtown Springfield, 1906, 3 black men were lynched by a mob in Park Central Square. A plaque now recognizes the hurtful history, from race to religion.
I get my inspiration from the sky.
Fast forward to the 1930s, Gerald L.K. Smith, known for his power speaking at the pulpit, the so-called minister of hate, was also a far-right politician.
President Donald Trump has officially made his appearance in Springfield, of course, at the top of the steps of Air Force One. Joining him to his right, Senator Roy Blunt, and right behind him, Billy Long, widely supported here in the Ozarks. That's one of the many reasons he made his appearance here in Springfield, was due to the wide support this past election with Donald Trump. He's now making his way, like I said, with Senator Roy Blunt and Representative Billy Long to the bus, which will take him to Lauren Cook.
I see Ivanka Trump. Is she there with him as well? Is that who I'm seeing? My eyes are deceiving me here a little bit.
Who else is there with him?
I do believe that is Ivanka.
Okay.
Yes.
A big moment for Springfield today. Again, like we said earlier, this is the first sitting U.S. president to come into Springfield since 2006. The president joined by a group of others, including Senator Roy Blunt, Billy Long, Ivanka Trump, as we just saw. They're getting into that Cadillac there, which will be taken to Lauren Cook Company, where he will give a speech on tax reform. We're going to go to my colleague, David Oliver. He's inside the plant, and he is awaiting the president's arrival there. He should be there in about 15, 20 minutes, I would say. How's the mood there, David?
Well, I would say, Jennifer, right now the mood is that of great anticipation. Anytime you have an event like this where a sitting president comes into a town for a public, or in this case, be it a private event, there is a lot of hurry up and wait involved. You've got a very large warehouse where we are located right now inside the Lauren Cook building over here near Kearney and Barnes. I'm going to guess probably 700 to 800 people here inside this venue waiting to hear from President Donald Trump as he talks about tax reform today. You've got a number of the Lauren Cook employees and their spouses who are here today. I've lived here long enough to recognize a number of the major party donors on both sides, Democrat and Republican, and I can tell you this room is filled with some of the big movers and shakers who give to the GOP during the election cycles. A lot of folks here waiting patiently for the president, who again will be here in about 20 minutes.
But Joe Murrow and Heather Lewis are just down the street from the Lauren Cook Company right now. There are people showing up who support the president and many who do not. So what's it like out there today, Joe and Heather?
Well, Jennifer, good afternoon. We can tell you that we are just in front of the Crossway Baptist Church, and a lot of police presence picking up behind us. Barnes is closed right in front of us along where we are. It was open to vehicles and people earlier. We now know that they are not letting people past this truck that you see behind us here.
We have a few supporters right now of President Trump that are trying to get through. We're at the back side of this building. This is where the employees checked in earlier, right?
Yes, that is correct. They were coming in with Greyhound buses, parking in other directions, getting off here and going into the back side of the building.
So what we have now is a lot of people that are trying to perhaps catch a glimpse of the president in his motorcade trying to do that. This road was closed to cars, but people were able to walk by until just recently. Police have really come up on this side and are starting to turn people away. So perhaps that is where he'll be making his arrival.
First, we need a tax code that is simple, fair, and easy to understand. That means getting rid of the loopholes and complexity that primarily benefit the wealthiest Americans and special interests. Our last major tax rewrite was 31 years ago. It eliminated dozens of loopholes and special interest tax breaks, reduced the number of tax brackets from 15 to 2, and lowered tax rates for both individuals and businesses. At the time, it was really something special. Since then, our tax laws have tripled in size, and the tax code itself now spans more than 2,600 pages, and most of it is not understandable. Tax rates have increased, and special interest loopholes have crept back into the system.
Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. We are so excited to be here. Welcome to the Color 10 Eclipse 2017 special. We can't see you, but you can see us, and we can see a solar eclipse.
Yeah, hey, everybody. David Oliver alongside my co-anchor Jennifer Keelman here. We've got our special glasses on. We've been preparing to bring you this broadcast for quite some time because the last total solar eclipse happened way back in 1979. And we played that clip last week of Walter Cronkite, Uncle Walter, reporting on the eclipse back then, and he mentioned the year 2017, which was so cool to see. We've actually got some monitors back here behind us, and we were watching back here. You had your glasses off before I did.
I did.
But we were watching back here. We just saw totality in Oregon, and we're going to see probably our best shot at totality, or 96% here in Springfield, around 113. And we've got our glasses. We hope you have your glasses too. Don't look at the sun without your glasses.
Yeah, don't do it. And lucky you, we're going to be here through the whole thing until 1:30 this afternoon. So it's going to be a good time. We're here to have fun.
We are. We're going to have fun. And I've got Tom Turton and Jeremy Rabe over here.
Oh, their budgets are
They're going to do some hillbilly science for us. And Tom Turton just had his glasses on a minute ago and looked up and he said, we're at total Pac-Man mode right now.
And I would agree with that.
Because it looked like Pac-Man.
Nothing could be more true.
So clearly we're here to show you what's going on all across the Ozarks as people enjoy the total solar eclipse of 2017. We have a team of reporters stationed all over town.
If the police still follow every lead that comes in and follow it to its end, one of these days we're going to find out, because somebody knows. She headed off and we said our goodbyes and kissed goodbye and had no idea that that would be the last time we would see our daughter.
With all their personal belongings there, their purses, their jewelry, obviously at that point you think something is wrong. There was no signs of struggle inside the house at all. And how it went down from there is almost impossible. Someone had to take complete control of those three persons.
With 5,000 plus leads at the time, it's very difficult to triage which ones you need to focus on.
25 years is unbelievable. That, we have no answers.
This is your mom calling. Please call me at home. Bye.
Phone messages of concern that would grow into fear on the night of June 7, 1992. That night, 18-year-old Stacy McCall and 19-year-old Susie Streeter graduated from Kickapoo High School.
And after all of the graduation stuff, we went out to eat. And then Stacy went home with us. And she immediately started changing clothes. And I said, wait, you can't change clothes yet. We've got pictures out back.
Stacy would oblige her mother's photo request, then met up with Streeter so the two could attend planned parties to celebrate graduation. After making several stops, the girls returned to Streeter's home that she shared with her mother, Cheryl Levitt. But from that night on, Levitt, Streeter, and McCall would never be heard from again.
We had no idea there was a crime scene there. You don't know that, you don't expect it. You're looking for your daughter and trying to find out what happened. And
Janice McCall recalls going to Levitt's home 25 years ago, finding the purses of all three women. There was no sign of a struggle, only a broken glass bulb over the front porch light. Police believe the three women went missing sometime between 2:30 a.m. and 8 a.m.
I remember when the police department came up and two officers came in, and I explained what was going on, and I walked them through the house and explained what was going on there. So the officers said, well, we're going to go outside and discuss this and look around a little bit. When they came back in, they said, we're going to file this as a missing persons case, foul play suspected.
Janice McCall immediately began calling radio and TV stations to spread the word about the missing women.
No one has seen 47-year-old Cheryl Levitt, her daughter, 19-year-old Suzanne Streeter, or Suzanne's friend, 18-year-old Stacy McCall, for more than 48 hours.
There's a big world out there. I need to see what it's like.
When Hal Russell invites you to his home for coffee,
not that we were poor, we thought we were rich.
You'll take the dirt road.
We didn't have a bathroom in our house.
To the gravel one.
We were real country folks.
To the driveway.
I make pottery.
Symbolic.
And this is my little pottery shop.
Of his favorite pastime.
You lose feeling in your fingers and hands.
His wife, Linda, laughs at his ever-growing collection.
To me, this is a lot of fun.
They line the walls. Everything from dragonflies to more...
I get a lot of requests for this kind of thing.
Exotic designs.
You name it, I can probably draw it and make it.
At least when the brew finishes, choices are plentiful.
Yeah.
And when Hal begins to open up, as he often does, there are some things you should know. Like how that cup holding your Java...
But they didn't have a catcher.
...really wasn't...
I could catch.
...his first love. That diamond...
I actually played baseball myself.
...belongs to another.
If you're good enough and you're lucky enough, you get up to the major leagues, you get what you call your cup of coffee.
Hal never made it to the majors. In fact, those dreams vanished when he was just 20 years old. It was in 1968 that Uncle Sam drafted this at-home country boy, enlisting him in Southeast Asia.
I was in Vietnam from 68, 69, spent a year in the war over there. And then after that, I kind of, you might say, become a hippie and had a hard time dealing with everything.
Some of his closest friends made the ultimate sacrifice during his year of service, and his homecoming wasn't much easier.
Didn't have any respect when I come back from Vietnam.
His ghosts haunted him for decades.
You don't know you have a problem, and I didn't discover that until maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and somebody said, maybe you have PTSD.
Hal could have run back to his roots, but instead pedaled in the opposite direction.
To me, difficulties are just an adventure.
He now competes in endurance racing and was recently dethroned as the oldest man to ever complete the Tour Divide, a 2,700-mile mountain bike race from Alberta, Canada, down to the Mexico border. Just this year, he completed the American Trail Race, over 5,000 miles from sea.
I can get out there and
to shining sea.
Just forget everything.
62 days.
This is it. 18
hours and 29 minutes.
I started out, trying to get rid of my Vietnam ghost, and I realized I'm not going to do that. That's part of me. But I can figure out why am I so lucky to get to do things like this? And somebody asked me, I guess you carry a gun, you have a weapon. No, my gun, my protection is my handshake and my smile. And that, if we'd all do that, we'd have it figured out.
Hopes, dreams, resiliency, and defeated ghosts.
Don't forget Vietnam.
Manifested in miles.
I don't have that problem anymore.
And jars of clay.
I can say I got my cup of coffee, so.
In Osceola,
a smile and a handshake still works.
With cup in hand, Daniel Shedd, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Sometimes you have to appreciate life's dark moments to find the light.
I think I'm still working through that, honestly. Definitely a weird feeling to know you should be dead.
Drury infielder Clay Engel planned to work and play summer ball in Colorado while experiencing Rocky Mountain nature. But instead, what he experienced was nothing short of a miracle.
It was a foolish decision to just go alone. I definitely realized that, but my thinking was I was just going to go camp, spend the night in my hammock and eat some food and then get up in the morning and go find a trail to hike on. But I fell that night.
Clay slipped and fell roughly 15 feet off a cliff, fracturing both his skull and a vertebrae in his neck, and had a big enough gash in his leg to expose his quadricep.
I was on the ground about 5 or 6 hours overnight. I woke up real early in the morning. I just knew I had to get down because I was like, there's no one up here. I'm actually in some trouble.
Clay fell at Estes Park in Colorado. Now let me show you here on Google Earth what kind of terrain we're talking about here. He woke up, grabbed a walking stick, and had to trek a mile down the mountain. It took him roughly 2 hours, but Clay says he didn't feel alone on his journey.
And so with all that, I wasn't panicking. There was a really strong peace of God, just with me. It was weird to describe. I remember going down with someone. She was an angel. I never saw her face. She was just kind of beside me and a little behind. And as I would stop to go around a tree or go under a branch or something, I'd see her kind of go out in front of me and wait for me.
Eventually, they made it down the mountain to a house, which belonged to a retired Navy medic who administered first aid and got him to a hospital.
I don't know, I should have died to begin with because I broke my head and my neck. And I just got up and walked down. Doctors are confident I'll be good in the fall, which is crazy.
Doctors tell Clay he will fully recover before baseball season starts, giving him a new outlook on the game.
This has helped actually really change my mindset to be I'm not worried if I have a bad day. I'm glad to be out here.
And an even deeper outlook on his faith
and life itself.
And I feel like I'm gonna be able to do that with a changed heart and a much closer relationship with God, and also just like a childlike passion and joy, because I understand more about life now that it was so close to being taken away from me.
And now, forecast first on Color 10 News.
Well, the very dangerous and widespread flash flooding is continuing to go on across much of the Ozarks, mainly, more specifically for everybody along and to the south of Interstate 44. Some heavy rainfall right now is moving in, especially just off to the west of Branson, and a few storms that are just on top of Springfield right now. Some very heavy rainfall adding on to the many inches that we have already picked up across Missouri and northern Arkansas. More strong storms are going to stream their way up out of central Arkansas into northern Arkansas and into Missouri, and maybe even a few strong storms. There's a tornado warning right now across central Arkansas. I think the severe weather will not be a worry tonight, but the resurgence of more life-threatening flash flooding will be a big concern. My forecast is coming up in about 10 minutes. Color 10 News at 10 starts now.
One woman is dead
that was screaming for help
as flooding potential propels Missouri into a state of emergency. Branson residents are asked to evacuate.
I'm getting really nervous.
And major road closure.
All the water was over the parking lot.
Surge into Springfield.
Turn around, don't drown.
These stories and more.
You know, nothing like this.
Next.
I don't know if it's worse, but more frequent.
On Color 10 News.
You're watching Color 10 News at 10 in high definition.
One woman has died, another man rescued after they were swept away by floodwater south of Clever today. Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10 o'clock. I'm Daniel Shedd. Missouri State Highway Patrol spokesperson Sergeant Jason Pace says the incident occurred this afternoon on Route K. That's at the Christian and Stone County line. In tonight's Storm Team coverage, we're tracking the aftermath of flash flooding in the Ozarks and what may still yet to come. Our Bria Douglas is back in the newsroom from Berry County, but we begin with the latest in Branson, where our Grant Sloan is keeping an eye on the lake levels. Grant, good evening.
Well, Daniel, Branson was among those communities hit hard by severe flash flooding earlier this afternoon. It prompted several swiftwater rescues, encouraged evacuations, and of course increased the levels of our area lakes. For instance, Lake Taneycomo, just on the other side of the landing, I'm told, increased about 3 feet in just 1 hour earlier this afternoon. Now, this is what the immediate area kind of Branson and around Branson looked like earlier today. You can see water into businesses along Turkey Creek over in Hollister, and then water as well into the Lakeside RV Park in Branson, and that's just down from the landing. Now, Taneycomo is currently out of its banks. Something to keep in mind is that this is primarily due to the result of all of the rain that we've had today. What little bit of rain is coming out of Table Rock Dam is the result of a generator being down, so it's not due to the weather. So the question becomes, if and when the Corps has to make a weather-related release from Table Rock Dam, how large will that release be? I asked Branson Fire Chief Ted Martin if the release could be similar to that of 2015.
Anything is possible today or tonight or even tomorrow morning, but it truly comes down to the great work that the Corps does to do the measurements between the lake systems, the inflows, how much rain do we get, what can we store, and where is it going to be stored at. But when we're at the level that we're at, what they've shared with us, we think we should be ahead of it as a community, and let's move some people.
Now, if the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers does decide to increase the flow currently coming out of Table Rock Dam, that's expected to happen between now and potentially 4 a.m. Sunday morning or tomorrow morning. And that's why the Branson emergency personnel in the county have been encouraging folks that if they're going to evacuate, go ahead and do that earlier today so those evacuations aren't occurring at night. Reporting live in Branson, Grant Sloan, Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Grant Sloan tonight, thank you very much. Continuing our Storm Team coverage now, Bria Douglas visited Berry County where they experienced major flooding. She joins us now with more. Hi, Bria.
Hi, Daniel. Deputy Justin Rourke is a husband and father of 6 who has worked for the Berry County Sheriff's Department since 2010. As you can imagine, today is one of the busiest days of his career, and Rourke not only spent it juggling his professional life, but his personal life as well.
It's amazing what one thing can do to bring an entire city to its knees.
Barry County Deputy Justin Rourke is patrolling around Cassville, a city that he barely recognizes.
This is the Cassville City Park.
The city's underwater.
And like I said, it's not done yet. It's still raining.
We're on our way to Deputy Rourke's home, where he's heard that it has flooded. Along the way, we encounter streets that we can't ride through because of high water.
This road's all closed off. All the way through there, it's a lake. Jeez. That's the main city street.
We pull up to Deputy Rourke's house, where he sees for the first time since leaving for work in the morning the toll the rain has taken on it. He stands speechless and emotional. He's reliving the nightmare.
When you look around, you can't even see my driveway or the yard or nothing. It sucks. It's like the third time. It's hard to rebuild.
I mean, for your family.
Huh. More struggles.
He looks at his yard that has turned into a swimming pool and a basketball hoop that is being swallowed by water.
Hard on the kids, you know, trying to do all their stuff, go to school.
The blessing is everyone's safe, right?
That's right.
The job awaits, so Deputy Rourke gets back in his patrol car to continue his shift.
Job comes first. Have the family safe.
Before heading out, he takes one last look at his home, even spotting a foreign object passing through the water.
It was like a telephone pole floating down the river over there.
Deputy Rourke says that his wife and kids will stay with family until they can go back to their home. And even though this will be the fourth time it's flooded, he plans to rebuild it in its same spot again.
Bria Douglas tonight. Wow, thanks. Flat Creek has also caused the highway near Jenkins to close in both directions tonight. Color 10's videographer Chris Six was on the scene this afternoon. The rushing water made it impossible for anyone to cross. Thankfully, there have been no reports of injuries related to this flooding in this area. And MoDOT is watching the James River closely as it approaches severe flood stage. If the river rises a couple more feet, it could potentially close ramps along the US 60 and 65 interchange. Color 10's Jennifer Abreu got a first-hand look.
We kayak on this river when it's normal.
I come out here all the time to take GoPro videos and kayak.
And Saturday, after around 4 inches of rain in Springfield,
there's just water everywhere.
Parking lot where the fishing access is, and all the water was over the parking lot.
These kayakers came out to the Galloway Creek Greenway to see just how the heavy rainfall had changed the river.
The height, the current, the color of the water.
Saturday's flooding wasn't enough to close the 60 and 65 interchange. The water rose up to 18.86 feet.
It's very close to the bottom of the bridge.
The highest as I've ever seen it.
If it reaches 20 feet, the severe flood level, that's when MoDOT says there's a possibility of closures. MoDOT says in July of 2015, the river reached 21 feet and the interchange was closed, but for less than a day. As the rain tapers off in the Springfield area and the river isn't rising as fast, there's a chance the interchange is in the clear. MoDOT says stay home if you can because many secondary routes are closed.
I had to drive, an hour out of my way just to get to the bank because so many, county roads were closed.
And while it may be inconvenient, it's your safest bet.
Turn around and go a different way.
In Springfield.
Flooding everywhere.
Jennifer Abreu.
You don't get to see it every day.
Color 10 News. Ozarks First.
And Battlefield firefighters responded to reports of a man asking for help near a flooded area this afternoon. It happened along US 141, just south of 190. It's near the River Cut Golf Course. Firefighters say a call reported seeing a man in a red hoodie asking for help just south of that bridge on 141. After searching for an hour and a half, the rescue team did not find a person nor a vehicle.
We've looked, we went both upstream and downstream. We went downstream pretty far, and up to now we haven't located any sign of anything.
And US 141 remains closed to through traffic due to high water just south of that bridge. We bring you a developing story now tonight at 10 o'clock. All Missouri State West Plains students have been evacuated from the Grizzly Lofts. It's unclear at this time how many students are affected. However, Howell County has confirmed that all students and staff are safe. And a man and woman are thankful to be alive tonight after their truck was caught in moving waters. This video comes to us again from West Plains. You see the truck there sinking in floodwaters. Passerbys hopped out of their vehicles and stood on the bank. That's as the couple was able to escape their vehicle and swim to safety. And here's a live look at the MoDOT Travelers Information Map. You can see there are plenty of flooding icons on some roads in the Ozarks, meaning they're likely impassable tonight. It's imperative that if you do have to get out, you check this map for any road closures you may find. You can find a link to that map on our website at ozarksfirst.com. And the American Red Cross has opened up 2 shelters in southwest Missouri tonight to assist those affected by the floods. The first shelter is located in Anderson, Missouri. That's at the First Baptist Church on Friendship Lane. The other is in Branson at the Branson United Methodist Church off of Highway 76. Overnight accommodations are available. Red Cross suggests bringing a couple days worth of medications, clothing, and comfort items. You can find more Red Cross shelters once again at our website at ozarksfirst.com. And for up-to-date weather information, be sure to download the free Color 10 News and Weather apps. You can find them in the App Store as well as on Google Play. Coming up next on your news at 10 o'clock, 2 lives were lost overnight in southwest Missouri. Plus,
I was able to wade through it and get my animals.
Flood concerns continue in the Ozarks. We'll continue to survey the damage next on Color 10 News at 10.
You're watching Color 10 News at 10 with Daniel Shen. Weather with meteorologist Wes Peary. And sports with Megan Rice. This is Color 10 News at 10.
In more local news now, 2 wrecks claimed the lives of 2 men overnight. The first happened near Lake Springfield. Police say it happened in the 5700 block of South Kissick Avenue. A car crossed the center lane and struck a truck head-on. The driver of that car died at the scene. The other driver had minor injuries. Police believe alcohol was involved. And flipping to the next crash, a man from Lebanon also died last night on Highway 64. Highway Patrol says 27-year-old Charles Weaver died after his vehicle ran off the right side of the road and struck a tree. A 10-year-old passenger suffered serious injuries. This accident happened 11 miles west of Lebanon in Laclede County. And the torrential rains caused problems just about everywhere in southern Missouri. Taking a look around the region, some people remained evacuated. Others were getting their first look at what the floodwaters did to their homes. In Neosho, some people saw as much as 3 feet of water. One man says he lost everything. Others say they weren't home at the time, but were surprised by what they found once they finally made it back.
I came over here and the water had receded quite a bit, and I was able to wade through it and get my animals and take them back to the car and take them to my parents' house.
So what'd you find when you came home?
A bunch of mud, a hole in our bathroom, and some knocked over trash.
Both women here say that they do have flood insurance. They're not sure how long it will take them to clean up the mess caused by those rising waters. A Granby family is left wondering what to do after their home is heavily damaged by floodwaters. According to Stephanie Tanner, she woke up this morning floating in her bed. She awoke to the sound of the flash flood warning on her phone. Tanner stepped out of bed and says she stepped into water after more than 8 inches were on the ground. She says the creek is typically a calm place she enjoys, but today, a monster.
Everything we've worked for, we're 43 years old and our children are grown, and this is all we have left. We built the house in 2011, and that creek out there was just a peaceful babbling brook and always has been a great place for the kids to come play.
And Tanner adds once the water recedes, she'll pick up and figure out how to get things back to normal. And continuing our weather coverage now west, just incredible images flooding in overnight, and we have more rain on the way.
Yeah, it's not what you want to hear when you already see a foot of rainfall in some spots of the Ozarks. We could get 1 to 3 inches more. Some folks are even trapped within their own city, not able to leave without power. I'll let you know just where I think the most rainfall will fall tonight after this break.
And now, Color 10 News meteorologist and weather expert Wes Peary.
Well, life-threatening flash flooding is ongoing still across the Ozarks. Mainly everybody along and south of I-44 is where we find the most dangerous scenarios happening right now. Flash flood warnings out for pretty much everybody along and south of I-44 and a couple of spots along northern Arkansas. And some of the worst flash flooding that I've seen as of recent is going to be in West Plains, where it's even, I think, as of a couple hours ago, you couldn't leave the south side of West Plains. You couldn't get into West Plains from the south side. All roads were flooded. Power is out in West Plains. There's also power outages and flooded roads spread really across everybody living along and south of Interstate 44. Lots of flash flood warnings. These will go throughout the overnight hours, and then we're actually going to see rain make their way out of northern Arkansas and central Arkansas and up through the Ozarks. And so we're expecting continual rain showers throughout the overnight hours. May get a little bit of a break, however, just before dawn, before we get our last bout of showers and storms. But the area I'm most concerned about is going to be kind of this corner across southwestern Missouri and northwest Arkansas. We'll include Springfield in this area, but this is where I think we could see 1 to 3 inches, the highest amounts of that 1 to 3 inches. So maybe 2 to 3 inches in that corner. Everybody along and south of I-44 is going to have the chance of picking up 1 to 3 inches. Generally, north of I-44, I think maybe just 1 to 2 inches overnight tonight. What that will do is that will restart the flash flooding that may have subsided a few hours ago. It will restart all that flash flooding, which means it's going to be a continually very, very dangerous situation unfolding overnight tonight. And some of these numbers are just, they're awful. I mean, look at these little stripes down here and pinks. Where you find this purple just to the north of Fayetteville, line that up with a legend, that's where 12.5 inches plus rain has fallen according to this radar product. Within these little stripes of purple, that is 10 plus inches of rain. These areas that have seen about a foot of rainfall are going to see another few inches tonight. So that is why I am encouraging everyone, please do not get out and drive, especially in the rural communities. The roads are likely going to be more flooded in the rural communities. This is a life-threatening situation. Some people have already lost their lives, so I'm stressing this as much as possible. Please do not get out. Flash flood watches out until Sunday evening. Flash flood warnings out until about Sunday afternoon. So here's a look at the rainfall totals once again. A lot is going to come back into the picture. This model, I think, is doing a pretty good job. We'll watch as more storms come out of southern Arkansas into northern Arkansas and into southern Missouri. This is going to be our last bout of rain coming through on Sunday morning, and then we'll slowly begin to dry out by our Sunday evening. Again, I think this corner is not being displayed too well on this model, but generally this corner across southwestern Missouri, I think, is going to see the most rainfall overnight tonight. So showers and thunderstorms continuing overnight. Temperatures in the 60s really throughout the evening and throughout the day, cooling off actually by later on in the evening. These are a few of the flooding rivers we're worried about. I think these will hit the moderate stage, and a few major flooding is going to be possible across these rivers as we get into Sunday and into Monday. Good news is I think we'll dry out Monday. The bad news is another risk of flooding comes into the picture Tuesday night and into Wednesday.
And you just threw up a lot of rivers there. I know you don't have time to dive into all of that, but people need to be actively watching these rivers and these low floodplains as the night continues.
Yeah, if you live near a river or a stream, a good website is water.weather.gov. It has all the river forecasts on there.
Wes, thanks. And we're going to continue to look at some weather pictures. They've been coming into our Facebook page as well as our email account all day. Once again, I mean, we just see picture after picture of water covering roadways, and these are some of the dangers as we head in tonight. Yeah. Water in places you really don't expect them to be.
Yeah, so we're urging everyone, if you don't have to travel tonight, just don't do it. It's better to save your car and save your life and stay in and watch some TV than it is to try to get outside this evening.
Wes, thanks. And if you would like to send your pictures or videos in, we'd love to see them on our Facebook page at Color 10 or news@color10.com.
I'm not here to prove anybody wrong. I'm just here to prove myself right.
NFL dreams came true for a former Missouri State star, but he calls it bittersweet. Megan Rice shares all the details on Dylan Cole's pro football future. That's next in sports.
And now, Color 10 Sports with Megan Rice.
While the NFL draft draws the TV time, it's not the only way to make it on an NFL team. And tonight, at the conclusion of the draft, Missouri State's Dylan Cole signed a free agent contract with the Houston Texans, who had arguably the best defense in the league last year. Our Dan Malloy has the story on the Bear that turned Texan. Dan?
Many NFL draft gurus expected Dylan Cole's name to pop up sometime during Saturday's final rounds. But after 253 selections, Dylan Cole officially became an undrafted free agent. In a statement tonight, Cole said, "It's kind of bittersweet. I thought I was going to get picked up around the 6th round. When the 7th round came around, I just wanted to become a free agent so I could pick where I wanted to go and the best fit for me. Houston was that place." Cole was prepared to go undrafted, though he didn't expect it. When we spoke earlier this week, he said he might be overlooked due to the competition at the FCS level.
Right now, it might be a concern, but when you get to camp, you're a guy, and you have a name, you have a number, and that's it. We don't care where you're from.
He grew up dreaming of draft day, but all Cole really wanted was an opportunity, and he's got one in Houston.
It doesn't matter because you get to go to rookie camp, and then you get to go to OTAs and prove yourself.
Dylan Cole certainly proved himself at Missouri State, turning his one Division I offer into an All-American career. Now he's another long shot, but he's not motivated by those who passed on him.
I'm not here to prove anybody wrong. I'm just here to prove myself right. It's business now, and I'm trying to get my money.
He will get right to business for the Texans at a rookie minicamp next month. In Springfield, Dan Malloy, Color 10 Sports, Ozarks First.
All right, thanks, Dan, and congrats to Cole. As for Kansas City, the Chiefs headed into the draft with 10 picks, but after a busy weekend for general manager John Dorsey and lots of trading up, the Chiefs have selected their 6 new players. Kansas City picked up 3 offensive players and 3 defensive players and traded up 3 different times in the draft, of course, making the biggest noise in the first round when they moved up from the 27th pick to the 10th spot to get quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Here is a full list of Chiefs picks. In round 1, it was quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Then in the second, the Chiefs went defense, getting defensive end or linebacker Tano Passanio. The Chiefs then got running back Kareem Hunt in the third. In the fourth, KC selected J.U. Chesson, the wide receiver from Michigan, followed by Ukeme Uligwe, the linebacker out of Georgia Southern. Then the Chiefs' final pick in the 6th round was safety Leon McQuay, the third from USC. Now let's see how the local SEC schools did in the draft. Mizzou with only 1 player selected this year, but it was a good one. Linebacker Charles Harris adds his name to first-round defensive players to be drafted from Mizzou in recent years. Harris was selected 22nd overall by the Miami Dolphins. As for the Razorbacks, they had 3 players drafted. Defensive end Dietrich Wise went in the 4th round to New England. Then in the 5th, tight end Jeremy Sprinkle went to the Redskins. And in the 6th, defensive end Jeremiah Ledbetter was selected by the Lions. And of course today, the St. Louis Cardinals, Springfield Cardinals, Kansas City Royals all had their games canceled today.
Thanks, Megan, and congratulations to Dylan Cole.
Absolutely.
If I learned one thing from covering Missouri State football is that there is no one that works harder on the football
and
field.
a good person. Absolutely deserves it.
Phenomenal guy. Congratulations, Dylan. Color 10 News will be right back.
So I've just received some information. This is going to go for northern Arkansas and Carroll County. Beaver Dam, they have opened up the floodgates, so that will likely cause some flooding, if not some flash flooding in the White River Valley across northern Arkansas. So if you live on the White River in northern Arkansas, you need to prepare for the possibility of some flooding or some flash flooding to begin within the next several hours as water comes out of the dam and enters the White River.
Wes, thanks. And of course, we'll keep you updated right here on Color 10 News if we do need to break in for any coverage at all. Also, we're online at ozarksfirst.com. Thanks for tuning in with us on this Saturday night. We hope you be back tomorrow. Have a good night.